nightmare.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Subculture, where we discuss everything strange, obscure and downright messed up in the world of movies. My name's Gary.
And I'm Simon. You're right there, Gary. A wee cough.
Aye.
A wee frog in your throat.
That's the winter coming now, isn't it?
Oh, I can feel it in my veins.
There's a turn in the day. Aye. The
God,
Arctic wind
aye.
is coming in.
Yeah.
Aye. Staying in to watch movies. From now on.
Oh, wrap yourself up warm.
Aye.
Wrap yourself up warm. Put the heating on. 3 bars on the heater, or 4 if you've got that.
Aye.
So what brings us here this wintry evening, Gary? This it's a cold one. Nip it.
Return of the Living Dead is a 1985 horror comedy which depicts the accidental unleashing of leftover zombie corpses by some medical supply workers, leading to a full-on zombie outbreak. The film was directed by Dan O'Bannon and is considered a cult classic for its inventive contributions to the zombie genre.
So, Gary, I suggested watching this film for the podcast. I've seen it many times. I think this was your first
It was, aye.
series of viewings, or what did you think?
So, I've always kind of seen the poster for this movie and it never appealed to me.
Right.
I don't exactly know why. I think it was just maybe the artwork, the design of the zombies.
Yeah.
I think it always made me think of the Eddie, the Iron Maiden mascot.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
And I was never an Iron Maiden fan, so
Sure.
I don't know. I never associated this as being like a must-see horror film or a must-see zombie film. I think as well because the horror comedy mashup is not necessarily my favourite.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why I kind of stayed away from it. But the first 10-15 minutes of this film, I was like, why have I not seen this before?
Right,
This
I
is
know.
incredible.
Yeah.
The script, the dialogue is so good, so fresh, not generic at all. It's like bang, bang, bang. Like great character stuff, great quips, like quippy lines, like really well written. And I thought, wow, this is fantastic. Unfortunately, I feel, although I enjoyed the movie, I do feel it came out the gate guns blazing, has a few dips and peaks as it goes through. It has some really worthwhile, inventive contributions to the zombie characters, which we'll probably talk about, but I wish it could have made a bit more of them. But that was some of the best stuff in the film. Some great performances, but yeah, overall a fun movie, but could have been better. A wee bit of a missed opportunity in certain respects for me.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from with what you're saying. I saw this in my kind of late teens, early 20s kind of thing for the first time. I think I had the same kind of reaction then, although there's other appealing aspects of the film that kind of get you to the end of it, and it's a fun zombie film. But that first 15 minutes or so with James Caan and Tom Matthews is Ernie and it's Frank and Freddie. It's just genius. It's just so well performed, and as you see the dialogue and stuff, it's just so funny and kind of. I could have watched the whole film with just those two characters, just doing stuff around the medical supply unit. But I think like watching it this time again, I mean, I still have a lot of love for the film, but I really, that was my thinking, is it's just such a shame that the second half, and I think you could say second half and maybe even the final third, just don't go anywhere meaningful, and it just loses its kind of the pace that it had built up in that first 2/3 or a half. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a fun movie, I think, and it's even the characters that it kind of moves away from those two characters, Freddie and Frank, a little bit as it goes along. But the new characters it introduces, I'm going to say the adults, right? So not the punk kids, but the adults I find are still fun. Like Clu Gallagher is the boss, Bert, and what's the guy, the Undertaker's name? He's Ernie. That's Don Califfa, I thought they were really, really great together as well. And again, another two characters I could have probably watched more of, just them interacting and trying to work out what was going on with the zombie outbreak. But yeah, I think it really does still work. I think the music's really cool. I think that really kind of elevates it a little bit, again with when you can get past the kind of maybe decline in writing in the script and near the end. But as you say, yeah, the kind of contributions to the zombie lore, I mean, like, it's everywhere. I up to this film, I didn't even realize that I had never seen a film where zombies wanted to eat brains. That way, it was like it was almost like, wait a minute, did this start this? And yeah, like, this is the first mention of a zombie eating brains in kind of modern pop culture, which is insane to think about. Like none of the Romero films ever did it. This was it. And I mean, they don't really do the zombie eating brain thing much even outside of this series. I'm trying to think. Like in parodies of the zombie genre, like The Simpsons do it or whatever, or South Park, whatever. They would always do the brain eating zombies, right? But I can't think of any other like zombie films, like mainstream zombie films, or even like non kind of zombie comedy films that do the brain eating thing. So it's really quite. It says a lot that that aspect of it has kind of grown its own legs into this whole other thing when it really doesn't exist much or at all outside this series.
Going back to some of the performances there, I really love James Caan and Clu Gallagher as well. Yep. And yes, I think what's really great is the kind of blend of styles you get, because Clu Gallagher and James Caan feel like they've came out of some kind of 50s western or something. This kind of like over the top kind of soapy style performance, sort of slightly tongue in cheek, but really a kind of more of a slightly older acting style, whereas like you have the more fresher, younger performers as well, and that really works nicely together for a comic effect, I think.
Yeah, I like the kind of straight-laced kind of businessman, or kind of small town businessman, like kind of Clu Gallagher's kind of character, and like in like the James Caan characters, like kind of he's kind of like downtrodden kind of warehouse worker guy, right? Like he's quite maybe self-deprecating a little bit, but he's got that kind of sneaky grin in his face when he's telling stories and things, to Freddie and stuff. And then there's like one bit later on where Clu Gallagher says that they're going to go to speak to Ernie the Undertaker, and he's going to ask him for a favor, and like Frank just loses it, and he's like what is something like, that bastard, like just out of nowhere, it's like he's just jumps, and it just really is. He's an amazing performer. I've seen him in quite a few things. He's in Poltergeist as well. The guy that moved the headstones but not the bodies, like at the end.
I was wondering where I'd seen him before. He's got a small role in Mulholland Drive as well.
Right. Yeah, he's been in a few things. There was something else he was in. Oh, I can't remember what it was, but yeah, and Clu Gallagher's been in like several like kind of horror films as well. He's in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 and stuff, and played the kind of dad in that. Yeah, they're just really fun character actors that just really kind of get to like let loose in this. As I say, the first little bit of this film, and I think that is what brings me back to it, is that opening, because like again watching it this time, I was like, after that opening, I was like, that's right. It kind of. Those two characters anyway, or the Frank and Freddie character, kind of get sidelined a little bit, and that's a shame.
Watching it really reminded me of Demons. There's quite a lot of similarity.
This is what I was hoping, like Demons would have been more like,
right?
If you know what I mean, like that when with the whole thing, the way they were taught, they spoke about Demons, I was kind of expecting more of this kind of. This kind of atmosphere to it, and maybe that's what I think I wasn't getting from it,
because you've got the kind of punk influence, and you've got like a sort of ensemble cast of characters all set up in the first act. Then it kind of runs out of steam a wee bit, and it sort of just lapses into slightly generic plot kind of tropes. Because I think once the punks go to the cemetery, I wasn't really feeling the whole strip dance thing. It just seemed like we need something for these guys to do while something else is going on in the mortuary.
Yeah, that character always makes me laugh when her dialogue leading up to that, when she's just so like, it's almost as if she's talking to a different group of people. Like, see the bit where they're like, let's go into that, we'll go into that cemetery or something, and the other, they're like, oh, let's not, no, we're not going there, and she goes, yeah, let's do that. It's like, she's like talking to a different bunch of people. I just always think she's funny. And then when the zombies hit, she just starts talking normally. Like, she's such a poser.
Yeah.
She's just like, you know, such a scene star. But yeah, no, I mean, again, as I said earlier, when I saw this in my late teens, early 20s, that was probably what kept me going through the film. Was like, okay, I'll watch this, you know, or it was more like, what the fuck's going on? That, to be honest with you, that was, what is she doing? And the way that all turned out and stuff. But yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, and even when the punks first turn up, like when they're in the car and they're all doing, the dialogue's still pretty good there, I think, you know, and it's such a shame that it kind of devolves. But even after, there's one moment I really love the punks after this, the striptease, is when Trash is kind of trying to seduce the head punk, or the guy that's got the car, Suicide. Well, he seems like the head punk, but nobody seems to like him. But they say he says he's calling when they went around. But she's trying to seduce him, and she's just rubbing all over him, and he's totally ignoring her. And then basically throws her aside and tells her to have some respect. So yeah, after that, I think that might be, you could almost pinpoint there that it kind of just goes down there. But I think they just kind of start to rely on the kind of escalating, you know, effects and stuff like that, and what we're getting. But there's still some good moments for me after that. But I know what you mean. The dialogue's what grabs you in that first bit, and it's just that goes away.
Yeah, I think after we get the initial setup, after we get to the point where they burn the body of the headless zombie corpse,
the yellow man,
and then it starts to get the mass infection. That's when it kind of lapses into maybe the traditional siege, zombie siege, like people trapped in a room, as we've seen many times before. But then it kind of turned back to something I thought was really interesting, was when the mortician character, they capture one of the zombies, the whole thing about the zombie psychology and talking about why they eat the brains, which was like, right, well, we've just taken a left turn into something really interesting here. Actually giving the zombies some internal kind of mechanics, but it kind of throws it out there. Then it just flips back to the traditional kind of siege thing, which I thought was such a shame, because that was such a kind of unique insight and something fresh and something that is quite rare in the genre. So I got really excited when it started doing that, because I'd sort of lost attention a wee bit. I was sort of getting a wee bit like a wee bit bored, but then that drew me straight back in. I'm like, well, right, but then it's a shame it didn't quite do anything with it, because that zombie character is quite iconic. The Tar Man is obviously quite iconic, but I wish it had done more with those characters, you know, to give them a bit more to do, because it seems like it's made some great innovations character wise, but then it maybe doesn't make the most of them.
I think you're right. I think it's good. Yeah, and it's interesting that there's these ideas that were kind of brought to the table here, which are really interesting, and and unfortunate that they don't either have the time, the money, or you know, the skill to explore them in this kind of zombie comedy kind of setting. But the interesting thing is maybe that they've never really been explored in anything since. You know, you don't really see, nobody's ever went any deeper in that. Even in the sequels. I mean, the second one's the only one that's kind of like this, and then it takes another left turn and goes somewhere else. But it's good. It is interesting to have such fresh ideas, even someone who, like yourself, has seen plenty of zombie flicks, and for it never to have been investigated any further, it's a shame. because it is really cool, and it's those little nuggets that do keep me coming back to the film and keep me going through the film. And those are the bits that you remember from that you remember the Tarman coming out the first time, and you remember the corpse on the table and explaining why she wants to eat brains. So yeah, no, it is a shame. I don't know that. I think the production wasn't the easiest on this. But I mean, the script was there before they started shooting. So
yeah.
Did you get a chance to watch the documentary that I sent across?
I never got all the way through it. I watched about the first hour or so.
It was interesting to me because I have seen that documentary before, but it's been a while. But I had kind of forgot about the whole John Russo angle. Like, I knew he was involved and had rights here, and I think he's credited as a producer. But I remembered the whole thing about him having the lawyers having a fight over the Living Dead title and the Dawn of the Dead title, and like him and George Romero being kind of like still friends through it all and kind of just wanting to sort it out kind of thing. But I'd kind of forgot the whole thing that he had his whole own script that was called The Return of the Living Dead. It was a completely different film and was like more of a straight sequel to Night of the Living Dead. So I thought that was kind of interesting watching the documentary this time, and then I've kind of again forgot that he kind of gets kind of sidelined completely in the making of this. He's probably still gets paid somewhere down the line, but it's definitely quite a dimensive role.
Yeah, so it's sort of, we're kind of half in, half out as a sequel.
Yeah,
there's like obviously explicit references to Night of the Living Dead in a kind of meta. Did you see that movie kind of way?
yeah. Well, yeah,
it's quite fun.
They do name check it like Night of the Living Dead, but yeah, no, that's a brilliant conversation. I love that with Frank when he does the little, when they're covering it up and he goes shh. That he does a little shot. It just breaks up every time. But yeah, so exactly it is. It's kind of half in, half out, isn't it? It's like an out of universe kind of sequel in a way, but
yeah, it's like a complete shift in tone from Night of the Living Dead, obviously. But and it was interesting to note that Toby Hooper was on board to direct
something else
briefly at one point.
Forgot, and he'd actually brought James Cameron on. Like, it was him that brought him on.
Because was Dan O'Bannon involved in Life Force?
Yes, I found that again after this I was reading up, and he wrote the Life Force.
Because Hooper was doing that just before, I think.
I think that was the film that he kind of get tied up on, that meant he couldn't do this.
Right. Also, the first time we have running zombies.
Well,
is that right?
That could be true. I don't. That's not something I don't know the answer to that. But that you're probably right. That's yeah. I mean, I don't remember it before this, and I guess it's hard to watch it and think of non-running zombies now. But yeah, no, that has to be, really, doesn't it? I mean, and first since the the voodoo zombie era. First kind of intelligent zombies, I would say. Like they seem to have like full intelligence, and kind of can talk and plot and ask for more paramedics, which
was this before or after Day of the Dead?
It was before Day of the Dead, because I think that was the whole thing. Well, let me see.
Because the Bub character in Day of the Dead has a bit of an internal psychology, doesn't he?
Yeah, you're right. 85 and both 85.
Right.
So yeah, August 85 for this, and September 85 that released. September 86. Sorry, it says for Day of the Dead. Yeah. So yeah, I think this maybe just pipped it to the post, but certainly like the that's I think it's maybe it's different, because I think they're trying to bring intelligence back to Bob or teach him things, whereas these zombies seem to have a plan and, as I say, and just kind of coordinate crazy well.
Yeah.
I always remember enjoying that line. Like, it was just kind of such a kind of mind-breaking moment when they spoke into the thing and asked them to send more paramedics and stuff, or send more cops. When I first watched it again, just I thought it was just such a novel idea. It was like so cool.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the rest of the characters, the kids, I think they all work pretty well. As we said before, when they're having the conversation in the car, I think the potential for them all is quite high. I think they're, they could have, they could have held up their end of the film with the adults characters. I think the characterization was there and the talent was there to do that. It just feels like they don't give them much to do once it all kicks off. And after the striptease, it's like the rain comes and then suddenly they all get split up for one, which kind of sucks, and then they all just kind of get picked off a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, zombie fodder.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's maybe why there's so many of them. So more kills, isn't it?
Yeah. Nope.
But I guess, like, in terms of what we were saying about the plot, like, to some degree, a film like this is about the special effects, it's about the kills. That's what they have to put kind of at the front. So sometimes maybe once you've got all that in, you don't have maybe time for some of the more subtle stuff.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I mean, I guess it's just that sharp drop off. It's just it's like if they hadn't had as good an opening and as interesting an introduction to these characters, you wouldn't be as disappointed about the fall off, right? So you wouldn't maybe notice it. So, and most other films from this period maybe don't have that same level going in, so you maybe don't notice that sharp fall off. As I say, I think it's only worth mentioning here because it does feel distinctively different from the really strong opening. And it is a shame, as I say. It's I think you could rewatch that opening over and over again, and without having to watch the rest of the film. I think it really works. But yeah, I think it's also, I feel like it's one of those films. Once you're on the roller coaster and you get to the opening credits, like you're kind of already in, and you're probably only like just over an hour away from the end of it anyway. So you're like, well, I'll just watch it. You know what I mean? I think it still works. And what do you think of the opening sequence? I thought that always kicked. Like that was one of the first films that I'd seen that did that kind of like cold opening and then like a kind of late credit sequence before. You don't really. Personally, I hadn't seen that much before, where you don't realise you haven't seen any opening credits yet.
Yeah, the credits are very late in this, aren't they? Almost once they come on, I was like, go back to the film.
I thought there's a couple of really cool shots in that opening sequence with the credits and the music and stuff like that. When we see the cadaver and the room reanimating and stuff like that, there's some nice kind of like dolly shots and stuff like that in there. But yeah, I mean, I do have a lot of love for this film, but I think I don't disagree with anything you've said with its flaws. I think most of the special effects hold up. I think they had some issues with those in the background, behind the scenes, but I think they managed to kind of everything that ended up on camera. I think works for what it needs to work. Quite like the split dog effects and stuff, the guy and stuff like that. And there's a bit in that makeup documentary that they're talking about the butterflies. Did you see that bit?
I didn't see that bit. No.
So there's butterflies just as they come back up the stairs once the gas has been released, and they're all flapping. It's in a pinboard and they're all flapping, right? And it just works. But all it is like a table fan that they've got blowing on the butterflies. But I watched it again after, and I'm like, it looks like they're all individually animated. Like it's really, it's so good. It's just really clever. And even the cadaver and the kind of you starting to watch this thinking I knew, I've seen the Romero films, zombie films, right? So and you're like, okay, these characters are referencing zombie films. They know that you have to destroy the brain, right, or take the head off. I'm like, okay, cool. That's going to be this film's kind of like, this is what we have to do, right? So this is how the characters know how to do. And then when they destroy the yellow man's brain or like put something through it, and he just starts screaming louder. Like it was kind of like that shock of like, oh, wait a minute, like this is what's happening here? How are they going to kill them? And you're like slowly realizing they're not. That's not how this is working. They're not killing these zombies. And I thought that was quite a cool, fresh idea as well, that you don't see much in it, you know. And I think because I think it works well for the comedy value of the film. And I don't know what you would do in a kind of, you know, a straight film like that. You couldn't kill the zombies. I mean, well, it's like, what, you know, you're kind of fucked, aren't you? Man, I'm glad you enjoyed it, or you know, at least you know, you saw.
Glad I've seen it now. Yeah.
Yeah. See that it does. It really does work. That all that stuff, and is it? It's just a shame they don't keep it going. But I think it is worth seeing it for that first section. It's fun.
So to wrap up, my final thoughts on Return of the Living Dead would be it's a fun zombie movie, worth seeing for its zombie innovations. A few flaws in sort of plotting, could have done more with what it had on the table, but definitely worth a watch.
Completely agree.
So you've been listening to Cinema Subculture. If you like more of this content, please make sure you've subscribed on YouTube, like the video and hit the notification bell.
Thanks for listening. I've been Simon.
I've been Gary.
Brains.